Welcome, everyone. It's a beautiful Tuesday, August 17th, and a joy to be here with you all. It's Eileen Fisher's Women Together, and week after week we have been gathering. So my name is Antoinette, and I am the host along with our wonderful team. And I see some familiar faces. So welcome back to many of us. And if you are just joining for the first time, a warm welcome to you as well. And whether you're on video or not, we've been doing a little, we do these tiny practices, just help us land in the space. And it's something we can do anytime. But one of the tiny practices I'd like to invite us into is just a welcoming of each other. So as we welcome each other the idea is that we're just going to take a look at a few of the little Zoom squares that you have. And if you can be on video, now would be a great time to just pop on video for a moment. And what we'd like to do is just take in those of us who are here and knowing that more of us are signing on, but just taking a little note of who's here. I see that we've got people in from the West Village, in New York City, Arlington, MA, Winchester, Massachusetts, Manila, Philippines. Welcome, Lara from the Philippines. We've got New York City and Maryland, West Nyack, New York. If you'd like to share your location, you can do so in the chat. If you're in Zoom, and if you're in YouTube, you can share in the comments. And we will try to give your place at least a shout out. But as we do this, we can just take a look at our screens. Oh, here we go. Cambridge, Mass, San Jose, California, suburban Philadelphia, Toronto, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. We are really all over today. So a warm welcome. Lake Oswego, Oregon, Columbus, Ohio. Good to see you all in all of your places. Good to have you back. Gardner, Massachusetts. Wonderful. So just as we do this, if you'd like to take in maybe just 4 boxes on your Zoom screen and just give a little hello, a little personal hello, and take a look at these wonderful, bright faces that you see. You can just give a little wave if you want, or you can just open up your pores as eyes almost, really just kind of seeing each other and really just holding who's in the room, who's here, who is joining us in this connect session as we connect to ourselves and to each other. And just pick up the little group of 4 that you see in your screen and know that you might be in somebody else's, and just giving them a warm hello. I'm just holding compassion for all of us who have shown up here. How amazing from all of these different places that as we sit here, maybe in our own place and space, that we are able to connect with each other in this way. So really just seeing and holding, taking each person in. Wonderful. And then we'd like to just do a tiny practice that I love to invite us into every single Women Together time. We move into a moment of stillness. And what we've been doing is week after week, we've been gathering and just holding each other, just staying connected. And we dive into different topics to explore what's going on in ourselves and with each other and how we can show up. Last week, we were practicing patience. We do things around deep listening and really just being compassionate with each other, and really hoping that that holds us in a place of resilience during this difficult time, but also that we take in those around us, maybe when we're not as connected to each other. So just knowing that we have this space to do that can be really helpful. And then we also open up a space of conversation, a place where we can connect with each other and speak with one another and really just hear one another, really deeply listen, because that is such a gateway, such an opening of a way to just really hear across these perceived boundaries. Even my little house becomes a little boundary that I stay in. So today's topic will be on stretching ourselves, and we'll do some little stretching, light actual physical stretching, because the body is one of our greatest teachers and really tells us what's going on. But we'll also go deeper into what it means to stretch ourselves before we move into our chat with each other. And then before we do that, we'll just do a little moment of stillness. And we do this moment of stillness with a singing bowl. I found it from wherever someone had moved it. If you were with us last week, you know that the singing bowl walked away. AC, I see yours too. So there's the, this is a wonderful little tool to have anywhere we go, to just be able to take a moment to land and really use sound. I love that Andrea has allowed us to use the harp music at the beginning. So if you sign on a little early, you hear Andrea's harp playing, and it's just so relaxing. I come in and I feel my whole body just kind of, like chills, the feeling of that, but it's like my whole body is just shifting. There's something tingling and it just moves me. And that in part is what sound, the effect that sound has on our bodies. And many of you know that much more intimately than I do, as you practice music or singing. But it's something that I've really felt allows me to tune in a little deeper. So we'll use this singing bowl today, as we do each week, to allow us to actually land back with our breath. So if you'd like to find a comfortable seat, if you've done this many, many times, you might have your own practice, and this is it'll feel just like a little blip. But if it's your first time, sometimes it feels like the longest minute ever. So just being with whatever comes up and just noticing that that's okay. And it's just a moment of stillness to be with the breath. So the way we'll tune in is getting the feet flat on the ground, if that's possible for you. Deepening your breath, or even just noticing what the breath feels like today. Maybe the temperature or quality of the breathing as it goes in the nostrils. Lowering the sound of the bowl, and as you come in to your own space, just noticing after the sound of the bell stops, if there's still a resonance in you, you can still hear that sound. Just follow that or the sound of the breath for a moment of stillness. Thanks, everyone. So we take that little moment of stillness and maybe it tunes us into a just slightly deeper place within ourselves, or just coming back to ourselves. And as we do that, maybe there's something that's come up for you about what really brought you here today. So the topic today is on stretching ourselves. What really brings you either to that topic or to this conversation, to this connection with each other? So you can type directly in the chat or in the comment section, and I will read a few out. What brought you here today? I see in the YouTube we have Montgomery, Alabama, Owatonna, Minnesota, I believe, Seattle, Mount Shasta, California, Reno. Beautiful. And just as we think about what brought us here today, we notice that there are many of us who are coming from all different parts of the world today, and there's a lot going on in our world. So recognizing there, we have a request from Mary Kay. She said, "I'll ask for compassion and best wishes for my sister who's been called to fight fires in the West. She landed in Bend, Oregon last night. She's 62." So just hold all the different women going through so much right now. So we have many of us are going through so much. Many of us are going through the everyday, which can feel like a lot. So just recognizing that we are all in different places. Pamela says, haven't been here for a while, was missing it. Lisa, time for me without doing. I love that we can come to the place of being. Nalani says, I'm on deadline and need the uplift from community. Being able to attend these meetings regularly is my way of stretching into community. That's from Julia. Kathleen, balancing, relaxing, and focus to be able to truly tune in to intention. Bianca, I'm always amazed at how we can all connect remotely. Thank you, everyone. I'm stretching as I'm training a new healing modality, and talking and sharing this with others is a stretch for me. Thank you. Thank you, Bianca. Jerry, it wasn't the topic. I always find new pieces of myself to explore with the different topics. I do journal and find it helpful. Wonderful. Hilda, I just returned to Kuala Lumpur from London, have to quarantine in a hotel and just needed to connect to other people. Wonderful, glad we could have you here. Jean, I live alone and love the connection with other women. I love this. AC, expanding my capability of flow at the stretch end. We will have to stretch a bit more as the pandemic lingers and has its dangerous variants. Yes, there are a few more. So feel free to read through in the chat. The sessions are comforting. I like the sense of community and all the wonderful women who attend. Francis, who inspired today's topic, if we truly just looked at our country honestly, that alone would be stretching. Some want to go back to normal. That is not stretching. So it's wonderful to have us all here in all of our myriad of ways of showing up here. And I thought we would start in the body, but before I do that, just a little note that last week we did kind of close while we could have probably opened a whole new conversation. So for those of you who were there at the end of the Connect session, we went into a bit of a topic of conversation, and Francis invited us to stretch ourselves. And we thought, what a great topic of conversation for next week. And it's something that as we sit with a few things, difficult times, or being in our own home and not necessarily having to think about what's happening out in the world or out there or somewhere else. This is actually a very opportune moment to stretch ourselves and hold compassion for many others in the world. And just to know how we do that, how we stretch ourselves, it's not just a mind trick, there's some real data to it too. So before we do that, I thought we would just go into a little bit of physical stretching. And the reason for that is that muscles, I think we all know this, but just a reminder that our muscles, when we kind of sit for a long time or we hunch or we kind of stay in these old patterns, our muscles shorten and they tighten. And I thought that that's so true, not just our muscles, but also our brain muscle and our ability to kind of be open-minded and open-hearted it's when we kind of get into our own little rut and talking to the same people and only connecting with et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, our muscles shorten and tighten, and our ability to kind of think beyond ourselves gets constricted. So I thought we would start with the body, in part because my practice is yoga. It's something that I started learning very young, and it's something that I learned to teach and feel really at home in my body. So I thought I'd share that with you all, but also because it's a place where the body knows when there's tension. For me, if I feel my shoulders kind of creeping up and they get tighter and tighter and tighter, I know there's stress. I know that there's something going on. And if I listen to that and I can breathe into my shoulders a little bit, first of all, I might get more information about what's actually happening for me. And second, I might also be able to shift how my body responds to something. So, another example is that if I get a little scared, my knees lock and I don't even think about it. But if I'm, even if I'm sitting, but if I'm standing and something's going on, I'm a little scared, my knees lock. And if I just do that and feel that for a moment, I can feel even a little bit of fear. Like it goes up my hips, goes into my back, and it's just hanging out there. And if I read a news headline or if I, hear something that's going on, I might get a little dose of that kind of thing. And how do we actually counteract that is by shifting. Okay, how can I soften my knees, release the space around my hips, breathe into that, and just kind of be with that. And it's not that the fear necessarily goes away, but I might be able to choose a different response to what comes up. So, all of that said, I'd like to invite us into a little body connection, body movement. And I'd like to take two parts of the body and bring them together, our hands. So, you can bring your hands up. This is an easy one. And this, maybe this side of the body and this hand, it goes out and does this thing over here, and this hand does this thing over here. What I'd like to do is bring them together. And as you do this, make this a really conscious connection of the fingers, just feeling what it feels like to have these two sides of the body that are often doing so many different things. Maybe they are connected, lifting something. Maybe they're not so connected. Maybe you shook someone's hand or picked up your phone and they did, something else. But just in this moment, they get to connect with each other and they get to share with one another and also just feel the connection of touch, the feeling of touch. And then perhaps let your fingers embrace each other, maybe a little interlacing of the fingers, embracing each other slowly and just feeling that feeling. You can do it again, just feeling what it feels like, just this tiny little connection. Just feeling the fingers maybe wrapping around the hand, one hand holding the other. Maybe come back to the center and then switch so that the other first finger is in front, and just feel what it feels like to embrace the hands, to embrace each other. And then just breathe into this little posture, this little mudra, the hands being connected in this way. And then perhaps take the hands and open them up so there's a little cup in front of you, little cup. And you can drop that cup down, but just keep looking at it and maybe fill it so it becomes a little bowl or cup, and just fill anything that you don't need into that little cup or bowl. And as you look at that cup or bowl, just fill up anything that you don't need. And what we'll do is an exercise I learned from a dear teacher, Zuleika. She calls it drop your troubles. We're just gonna flip the cup, flip the bowl out, and drop our troubles and let them land on the ground. So flip the bowl out, just drop our troubles. And as you do that, you can stretch the fingers. So you can do that right down. You can do it in front of you. I'm just doing this so you can see it, but just feel the stretch of the hands and the way it feels for your hands to be connected but still stretching, still moving. Got a wonderful way of stretching the hands out, and then you can switch the fingers again, bring the other finger in front, and you can again, maybe you left a few more things out of your bowl before, so you can put them back in the bowl. Anything you don't need, anything that's not important for right now, the shopping list for later, whatever it is, and just maybe it's something bigger than that, just put it in the bowl and then drop your troubles. And this time we'll drop them down to the ground. Drop them down to the ground and stretch all the way. Feel the stretch in the back of the shoulders if you can. And then push the hands out and up and overhead. Inhale. And then exhale, pop the fingers out and just relax and feel them float down. Just feeling the hands float down now that they're so much lighter from dropping your troubles. And you can just fix your clothes because we do that anyway. I end up always doing it. And then as we're still seated, we'll do just a little, another little stretch. So you can bring your left hand to your chair or to your hip if you'd like, and bring your right hand up and overhead. So you can face your palm out and then up and overhead, and just reaching wherever's comfortable for you, just noticing this is not a competition. It's not a how fast, how hard, how far can I go? Just noticing what it feels like. What is going on? Can you open space between your rib cage? Can you inhale into that space and maybe exhale, come back to center? And then the other arm switch. So your right hand is on your hip or your chair, and lifting the left arm up and overhead. Inhale, maybe exhale. Just feeling the space in between the rib cage on the inhale, maybe looking up to the ceiling. Just feeling what it feels like to stretch the body. Inhale and then exhale back to center. Again, if you'd like to fix your clothes, you can go ahead and do that. I know, I just do it anyway, so I figure say it. Now, if you'd like to stand up, then you can feel free to stand up and just feel yourself in your space. So as you stand up, we're going to do a little leg stretching. And as you stand here, what I'd like you to do is one little tiny thing is you're going to plant both feet flat on the ground and lift all 10 toes up. So all of your 10 toes, if you're wearing shoes, you might not be able to see it that well. If you're not wearing shoes, you may be able to, but just you can feel it. So lifting all 10 toes up and seeing if that's available to you. And then you can drop them. And again, lift all 10 toes up and then drop all 10 toes. And then I want to see if you can lift one toe at a time. Can you lift each toe, one toe at a time? And just remembering that this is a body part, right? So maybe lifting, okay, that one maybe didn't work. So then maybe we lift all 10 toes again, and then we drop one toe at a time and see if we can do that. One toe at a time. I can't. I practice yoga. I've been practicing yoga for almost 20 years, and I definitely can't do this. So I just want to let you know if you're feeling like how, and if you're able to do this, you've got quite a lot of faculty over these digits. So highly commend you. And at the same time, just noticing that this is a part of our body, that these toes are a part of our body and we don't really have control over them. So how can we have control over a lot of other things? Just noticing that that's there. And then what I'd like to do is we're going to make our basket again with our hands, drop the basket down to the pelvis, flip the basket over, dropping our troubles again, pushing up and out, reaching up, seeing if you can get a little more extension here. Even if it's a tiny, tiny little back bend, you don't need to do it. And then exhale, release the hands. And then you're going to do a forward fold so you can get a little bend in the knees. This is where softening the knees gets really important. And then forward fold all the way down. to the ground. And you can just put your head down towards your knees and your hands wherever is comfortable, if it's on your thighs or on your shins, your ankles, but just keeping a bend in the knees. You can come back up when you're ready, nice and slow. Just noticing what that felt like. If you'd like to do it one more time, this little stretch in the back of the legs, we sit so much, so you can go up and overhead, stretching, bringing the hands together, and then popping the fingers out, coming around and back down. And when you're down there, just let the head go. You can nod your head yes, nod your head no. Just feeling the stretch behind your neck and your shoulders. And when you need to, when you're ready, you can slowly roll one vertebrae up at a time. Coming back to standing. And in this standing position, when you are there, you can lift your shoulders up to your ears. Just squeeze them up to your ears and feel what that feels like. Feel what that tension is like. You're just exaggerating it as much as possible. And then inhale, roll the shoulders back and down. Exhale. And just do it again, lifting them up and forward, just hunching, feeling what that feels like. And then exhale, around, out, and down. We'll do one more. Inhale them up. Exhale, around, down. Just feeling if there's any tension releasing or not, that's okay. And then we can just roll them back. So opening the chest and bring them forward. So bring the shoulders back, squeezing the shoulder blades together if you can. You don't need to overdo it. Just do what's right for you. And one more, around and down. Just feel the weight of the arms, how it feels. Wonderful. Just knowing that this is what it feels like to be in a body. This is it. And as you're here, if you'd like, whether you're sitting or standing, you can try and just do what I talked about earlier. We just softened the knees. So what does it feel like to lock the knees? Don't force it, but just notice what it feels like to lock the knees. You feel it in your hips. And then if you soften the knees, sometimes when we practice this, we practice stretching, we practice opening, we practice softening, we can do it when we need to. So just trying it once, squeezing and release. Squeeze the knees and release. And one more time, squeeze and release, and just feel the softening in the front of the knees, the back of the knees, the hips, just feeling what that feels like. You can shake your hips if you want to, and then you can sit down if you are into sitting. Just noticing that this movement, this body movement, is what actually allows us to soften. Sometimes our bodies are telling us, they're giving us more information, and we are off doing something else with our minds. Our body is telling us that I'm tired, I can't, I need rest. And we're like, no, we need to do this. Or sometimes the body is telling you, I'm afraid of something, and you're kind of overriding that. And then it comes out later. So the body has so much information for us, and just noticing the feeling in the body now versus the feeling in the body before. And if there's any difference. Maybe there was some information for you there, any place that you may have found tension. And is there a way that when you're experiencing being in the body and stretching and opening the body, is there something that's happening for you that you can do if you're in a conversation? So last week, Francis was talking about feeling defensive or feeling attacked. And what happens in the body? What happens in your body when you feel defensive or attacked? So for me, I constrict. I almost get immediately in fight mode. And some people go into flight and some people freeze. But there's this kind of moment where if you're feeling this trigger, whether in a conversation or, in some other connection, or you're even thinking about something, it's one little one little shift that you can do. So in that moment, am I actually being attacked? Is there a bear? And if there is, what is my response going to be? And if there isn't, what is my response going to be? And when we are soft, so if my knees are always locked and I'm walking around always locked up, short, tight muscles, then I don't have the capacity to truly listen. I don't have the capacity to go beyond my current way of operating. So the practice that we just did, even just a little bit of movement, it really, I mean, in your muscles, it improves your range of motion, it decreases pain, it decreases your chance of injury. And I would say that's true in how we connect with each other and with ourselves as well. So how would we increase our range of motion in conversation? There's Simba. He gets a little triggered, he gets really excited about something. So how do I decrease my chance of injury or decrease the pain that I'm feeling? And it might be that I do that with the body, but there are ways that I can do that also with how I converse or connect with others. So I'd like to just take us into a tiny meditation where we can just connect with ourselves and stretch our minds a little bit, maybe move into this open-minded, open-hearted space as well. So just take a moment and feeling into what it feels like to be in this chair, in this space, in this moment. And you can lower your gaze and just connect with yourself and the breath. Following the inhale, following the exhale. As you feel the connection of the feet to the earth, perhaps also feeling the connection of your head to the sky. Just feeling that little space just above the crown of the head, this little space that connects you to the sky, to a place of openness, to a place of possibility. And just remembering that we have so much to learn. We have so many ways that we can evolve and continue to learn throughout every moment. So connecting to this place of possibility, there's so much beyond us. You can tune the energy and attention now to the space around the heart. Just moving perhaps inward a little bit and just feeling that space around the heart, noticing if there are any feelings there, any sensations. And as we connect to our own heart, we know that there are many of us sitting here together and that these hearts are connected to each other. Just feeling our feet on the earth and our connection to each other, heart to heart. And then beyond this Zoom room, connecting also to any other woman who might be struggling in the world right now. Just holding compassion for many women who may not know what the next few days or weeks or months of their lives will look like. Just holding those women. AC just said to all the women in Afghanistan. So wherever may be calling your heart, just holding those women. Just taking a deep breath. Terry said in Haiti as well. Just taking a deep breath in to the place around the heart, and any feelings, just being with whatever comes up. And if there's anything that needs to release in the body, just being with that. Following the breath. When you're ready, you can return back to maybe putting a hand on the heart and just knowing that this space of open-heartedness, open-mindedness, knowing that we have so much possibility still and so much compassion to hold, and just being with that as we go into these connections with each other, where we will turn to each other. And what I'd encourage us to do is to oftentimes we look for confirming data. We look for something that's going to confirm our beliefs. We're going to confirm that, oh, I went through this, you're going through this too. And that in these conversations, that what we're listening for is something that is what we still have to learn. And just being with whatever the person in front of us brings to each other. If you need a moment of stillness to just journal for a little bit, just do that. But looking for what we call disconfirming data, something that challenges our beliefs, that challenges our mental models. I love this this idea that learning requires the humility that one has something to learn. It's a quote by Adam Grant, and that our focus is more on being right, less on being right. Sorry, our focus is less on being right and more on considering differing views. So just knowing that not only is everyone going through a different experience, but they also have grown up with different views and beliefs, and that we can hold all of that we can hold complexity and duality and different viewpoints, and just being with what that means as we go into these conversations. So we'll take a little, probably about 18 minutes, just because of our timing. There'll be a little timer, but 18 minutes if possible. And just share what's coming up for you. So it could be just sharing your name, where you're coming from, and sharing what's coming up for you. We'll move into breakouts and just share with each other what is coming up for you. And this is where you get the opportunity to really practice deep listening, sharing with each other, and really being heard and witnessed. So enjoy your time together, and we'll see you back here in about 18 minutes. Thanks, everyone.